How could you?
Sheila, take your mother along to the drawing room.
But I want to...
You heard what I said. Go on, Sybil.
When did you meet her again?
About a fortnight afterwards.
By appointment?
No. And I couldn't remember her name or where she lived. It was all very vague. But I happened to see her again in the Palace Bar.
More drinks?
Yes, though that time I wasn't so bad.
But you took her home again?
Yes, and this time we talked a bit. She told me something about herself and I talked too. Told her my name and what I did.
And you made love again?
Yes. I wasn't in love with her or anything, but I liked her. She was pretty and a good sport.
So you had to go to bed with her?
Well, I'm old enough to be married, aren't I? And I'm not married. And I hate these fat old tarts round town, the ones I see some of your respectable friends with.
I don't want any of that talk from you.
I don't want any of it from either of you. Settle it afterwards. Did you arrange to see each other after that?
Yes. And the next time, or the time after that, she told me she thought she was going to have a baby. Then she wasn't sure. And then she was.
And of course she was very worried about it.
Yes, and so was I. I was in a hell of a state about it.
Did she suggest that you ought to marry her?
No, she said she didn't want to marry her. Said I didn't love her and all that. In a way, she treated me as if I were a kid that was nearly as old as she was.
So what did you propose to do?
Well, she hadn't a job. I didn't feel like trying again for one, and she had no money left. So I insisted on giving her enough money to keep her going, until she refused to take any more.
How much did you give her altogether?
I suppose about £50 all told.
£50? On top of drinking and going around the town? Where did you get £50 from?
That's my question too.
I got it from the office.
My office?
Yes.
You mean you stole the money?
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
This isn't my fault.
Oh, I'm sorry, Arthur, but I simply couldn't stay in there. I had to know what's happening.
Well, I can tell you what's happening. He's already admitted he was responsible for this girl's condition, and now he's telling us he supplied her with money he stole from the office.
Eric, you stole money?
No, not really. I intended to pay it back.
We've heard that story before. How could you pay it back?
I'd have managed somehow. I had to have some money.
I don't understand how you could take as much as that out of the office without somebody knowing.
There were some small accounts to collect, and I asked for cash.
Oh, gave the firm's receipt and then kept the money, eh?
Yes.
Well, you must give me a list of those accounts. I've got to cover this up as soon as I can. You damn fool. Why didn't you come to me when you found yourself in this mess?
Because you're not the kind of father a chap could go to when he's in trouble. That's why.
Don't talk to me like that. Your trouble is you've been spoiled.
And my trouble is that I haven't much time. You'll be able to divide the responsibility between you when I've gone. Just one last question, that's all. The girl discovered that this money you were giving her was stolen, didn't she?
Yes. And that was worst of all. She wouldn't take any more, and she didn't want to see me again. Here! But how did you know that? Did she tell you?
No. She told me nothing. I never spoke to her.
She told Mother.
Sheila!
Well, he has to know.
She told you. Did she come here? Then she couldn't have done. She didn't even know where I lived. What happened? Come on! Don't look like that! Tell me! Tell me what happened!
I'll tell you. She went to your mother's committee for help after she'd done with you. Your mother refused that help.
Then you killed her. She came to you to protect me, and you turned her away. Yes, and you killed her, and the child she'd have had too, my child, your own grandchild. You killed them both. Damn you, damn you.
No, Eric, please. I didn't know. I didn't understand.
You don't understand anything. You never did. You never even tried.
Eric, don't.
Why,
don't.
you hysterical young fool, get back or I'll...
Stop and be quiet for a moment and listen to me. I don't need to know any more, and neither do you. This girl killed herself and died a horrible death, but each of you helped to kill her. Remember that. Never forget it. But then I don't think you ever will. Remember what you did, Mrs. Burling. You turned her away when she most needed help. You refused her even the pitiable bit of organised charity you had in your power to grant her. Remember what you did.
My God, I'm not likely to forget.
Just used her for the end of a stupid drunken evening, as if she was an animal, a thing, not a person. No, you won't forget.
I know. I had her turned out of her job. I started it.
You helped, but didn't start it. You started it. She wanted 25 shillings a week instead of 22 and 6. You made her pay a heavy price for that, and now she'll make you pay a heavier price still.
Look, Inspector, I'd give thousands. Yes, thousands.
You're offering the money at the wrong time, Mr. Burling. No, I don't think any of you will ever forget. Nor that young man Croft, though he at least had some affection for her and made her happy for a time. Well, Eva Smith is gone. You can't do her any more harm, and you can't do her any good now either. You can't even say, "I'm sorry, Eva Smith."
That's the worst of it.
But just remember this. One Eva Smith is gone. But there are millions and millions and millions of Eva Smiths and John Smiths still left with us, with their lives, their hopes and fears, their suffering and chance of happiness, all intertwined with our lives and what we think and say and do. We don't live alone. We're members of one body. We are responsible for each other, and I tell you that the time will soon come when if men will not learn that lesson, that they will be taught it in fire and blood and anguish. Good night.
You're the one I blame for this.
I'll bet I am.
Yes, and you don't realise yet all you've done. Most of this is bound to come out. There'll be a public scandal.
Well, I don't care now.
You don't seem to care about anything, but I care. I was almost certain for a knighthood in the next honours list.
Oh, for God's sake! What does it matter now whether they give you a knighthood or not?
It doesn't matter to you. Apparently nothing matters to you. But it may interest you to know until every penny of that money you stole is repaid, you'll work for nothing. And there's to be no more of this drinking around the town and picking up women in the palace bar.
I should think not, Eric. I'm absolutely ashamed of you.
Well, I don't blame you. But don't forget, I'm ashamed of you as well. Yes, both of you.
Drop that. There's every excuse for what both your mother and I did. It turned out unfortunately, that's all.
That's all.
Well, what have you to say?
I don't know where to begin.
Then don't begin. Nobody wants you to.
I behaved badly too. I know I did. And I'm ashamed of it. But now you're beginning all over again to pretend nothing much has happened.
Nothing much has happened. Haven't I already said there'll be a public scandal, unless we're lucky? And who here will suffer more from that than I will?
But that's not what I'm talking about. I don't care about that. The point is, you don't seem to have learnt anything.
Don't I? Well, you're quite wrong there. I've learned plenty tonight, and you don't want me to tell you what I've learned, I hope. Oh, when I look back on tonight, when I think of what I was feeling when the five of us sat down to dinner at that table.
Yes. And do you remember what you said to Gerald and me after dinner, when you were feeling so pleased with yourself? You told us that a man has to make his own way, look after himself and mind his own business. And that we weren't to take any notice of these cranks who tell us that everybody has to look after everybody else, as if we're all mixed up together. Do you remember? Yes. And then one of those cranks walked in. The inspector. I didn't notice you told him that it's every man for himself.
Is that when the inspector came in? Just after Father said that?
Yes, what of it?
Now what's the matter, Sheila?
It's queer. Very queer.
I know what you're going to say, because I've been wondering myself.
It doesn't matter much now, of course. But he was really a police inspector.
Well, if it wasn't, it matters a devil of a lot. Makes all the difference.
No, it doesn't.
Don't talk rubbish. Of course it does.
Well, it doesn't to me, and it oughtn't to you either.
Don't be childish, Sheila.
I'm not being childish. If you want to know, it's you two who are being childish, trying not to face the facts.
I won't have that sort of talk. Any more of that, and you leave this room.
That'll be terrible for her, won't it?
I'm going in a minute, but don't you see? If all that's come out tonight is true, then it doesn't matter who it was that made us confess. And it was true, wasn't it? You turned the girl out of one job, I had her turned out of another. Gerald kept his time he was supposed to be too busy to see me. Eric, well, we all know what Eric did. And Mother hardened her heart and gave her the final push that finished her. That's what's important, and not whether a man is a police inspector or not.
He was our police inspector, all right.
But that's what I mean, Eric. But if it's any comfort to you, and it wasn't to me, I have an idea. I've had it along vaguely. There was something curious about him. He never seemed like an ordinary police inspector.
You're right. I felt it too, didn't you?
Well, I must say, his manner was quite extraordinary, so